Hi, this is Pamela Groppe Art, and today we're going to paint some cherries. And let's get started. To begin with, I am using a number 10 flat. This is a Donna Dewberry one-stroke brush. I use these a lot, and I wanted to maybe quickly share with you. I just bought myself a new set, and I'm absolutely loving it, but it doesn't have the number 10 flat in it. So here's my new set. This is the signature brush collection that has the purple brushes and then where she's painted a design and had it applied there. It's a fun, different collection, and I just got it and trying it out, and I do love it. So if you want to buy yourself a present, go right ahead. Alrighty. Okay, first thing I'm doing is dampening my brush. Always dampen your brush before using acrylics, unless I tell you not to. And then I just press it on my paper towel, get the excess moisture out. We are going to paint these cherries. I'm going to base paint them in different colors. I'm going to use different shades of red or colors of red to kind of show you that you go with what you have or kind of a different effect. And the reason for that is not all cherries are the same color. Bing cherries are a dark maroon. A Montmorency or a kind of a sour cherry, they're a bright red. And there's even the Queen Anne's, which are a yellow with a tinge of red on them. So don't be too caught up in exact colors. This that I'm starting with is tomato spice. And I'm going to undercoat maybe 2 of the cherries with this. And I undercoat cherries because red is not opaque. So just doing a couple of layers of colors is very helpful. And tomato spice is a very opaque red of all the reds. It's one of the most opaque. Did you see how I did that? I started in the center, kind of, and I just spun my brush following the outline in a circle. I've also done cherries with a dauber, and what I mean by a dauber is something like this that has a round end. I tap it in paint and do a circle like that. That is another way to do it. I have a video on a box that I painted different fruits on, and that's how I did the cherries on that one. So here I'm going to go again. I'm going to do one more cherry with the tomato spice as the background underpainting, and this one I'm not going to go all the way around because you notice this cherry is slightly overlapping it. You could go all the way, and I will. That way I'll just show you how you can overlap with that one. Now that's not perfectly round. Also, cherries aren't perfect every single time, so give up trying to be perfect and just go with something that is close. Now I've rinsed out my brush mostly. You see I've got a little bit left in it of the red. I'm not too worried about that right now because I'm going to use another red. And this red is cardinal red. Both of these colors are Plaid Folk Art colors. The tomato spice, I think it's tomato spice, isn't that what it's called? Whoops, sorry. Deep tomato red. Okay, not deep tomato red was the first one. Is a Plaid Folk Art color, and this one is a multi-surface. The only difference between the two is the sheen once it's dry. The multi-surface has a more satiny, shiny finish, and the regular Plaid Folk Arts are a matte finish. I don't worry about too much about intermixing them because I usually put a finish over top of varathane of my designs on furniture, wood things, etc., and it totally has its own sheen. So don't worry about the difference. Also, multi-surface, you can paint on glass, tin, all kinds of surfaces with that. Now here I'm in the cardinal red. You notice there's a slight difference. This has a little more orange in it. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I probably have a little bit too much paint in my brush, and that'll leave a ridge around the outside. So you can try to avoid that, but I'm just twisting around like that. Now you see the difference? You see how much more see-through that one is? That's the opacity, but that's okay. We're going to do several layers, and then we're going to compare the difference. because the succeeding layers are all going to be the same, and we'll see the difference between that one and these two. So the difference that the underpainting will make. So now basically before we go on, we're going to let these dry completely, and that way we don't have to worry about picking up paint as we go along. So I will stop here, let it dry, or I'll get my dryer and dry it, and then I'll come back and show you the next step. Okay, so here we go. I am going to first start with this one here with our next layer. Now there's a couple of different ways I paint cherries. I'm going to start with the one stroke method, and then I'll go on to a little bit different method. It takes a few more strokes. Now the first one here, I'm going to kind of do a one stroke method. I'm going to use the cardinal red, put it in my brush, and then I'm going to dip into berry wine. I'm double loading my brush. You notice the berry wine's there and the cardinal's over there. You could do a little bit of a brighter red if you wanted. Apple red's really bright, but we're going to go with this. This is a dark cherry. And you start the same as you did before, right here, and you just take that berry wine edge around your cherry. Now I didn't leave as much of the bright red in the center as I wanted, so I'm going to kind of fill in there. And then I'm going to reload my brush. I don't want too much berry wine. I want less than half of the brush to be berry wine. So I'll reload, making sure not quite as much is berry wine, and we're going to go like this. Start on the edge, follow it around, and then come halfway down in that stroke. And you see how that cuts across that? But it's not really standing out well, so let's do that again. That's why this was too much of the dark. So we're going to come in a little bit. And as it dries, you'll see the division there where that cherry looks like it has the crease in it. Now a lot of people find the stroke work like that to be harder. So we'll go along and we'll do it a little bit different. I'm going to use basically the same colors, and I'm going to just get a little bit of the berry wine in my brush, and we're going to go over on these. It's a little bit lighter, and we're just going to create a shadow right there. I could fill in a little bit more with the red because that's not very opaque at all. So we've created a little bit of a shadow on that. Be careful you don't lift up the paint. Now I also want to create a highlight, so that's where this apple red is going to come in. You'll notice how much brighter it is when I put it out on the palette paper. And you see how that is a brighter red? And I'm going to do the opposite. And what I mean the opposite is I'm going to go this way with that. I had a little bit too much water or something in my brush. It left a big spot there. Okay, you see how much lighter that is up there? So it created a highlight. And if you wanted to go a little bit brighter, add a little bit of orange. Orange can really bring a spark to reds when you're highlighting them. You don't want to put in a white because white will turn it pink. We do not want pink cherries. So let me go into the orange and see, just kind of blend it into the red that's on my brush so that you've just created an orangey red, and bring it in there. And that gives it, still wet, so I need a little bit more orange. Gives it a highlight. I hope the glare of the lights is not obscuring what I'm doing. So it's not quite opaque enough for me, but we'll let that dry and we'll continue on. Now I'm going to do on this one like I did that one with the stroke work, except I'm going to have the cherry red with the berry wine. Try to get more cherry, less berry. I mean apple, not cherry. This is called dark cherry or something. I put it out there, black cherry, just to see what color it is. This has a little more purple in it, and that I can't really tell. I should put a streak on my paper to see what that is or looks like, but I wanted to get moving on this. So there's that so again. I'm always saying so. Okay, remember I wanted to keep that line thin, so here we go. Now remember, this is the one that was undercoated with the cardinal red. So you see how that went there? Now we're going to go ahead, get more, blend it into our brush, and then we're going to do like this. And I don't like the way that looks, so I'm going to go over a little further. Whoops, it slid. It was too slick. All right, I'm going to try this black cherry. Let's see what does it look like over here. I think that would make a good shadow color. I had too much water in my brush, so I dried it out. I'm going to dip in the black cherry just for the hay of it. You don't have to do this. I'm just playing with some colors as I'm painting my cherries. I'm going to add that little shadow right here along the bottom edge. I dried out my brush. I didn't wash it. I'm going back into the cardinal red, just kind of going over that to make that a little more opaque. I am finding that that background of the deep tomato red is very opaque, so it makes them a deep cherry. If you want them a brighter cherry, then go in with a lighter color. Now without an outline, I'm going to go in with this apple red and just do a circle, and I'm going to let it dry. And you see how that really is not opaque at all? It's very transparent. We will let that dry. Now, let me get some more of that apple red on my palette, because this one's pretty much dry, and I'm going to show you. I'm just going to highlight this side of the cherry where we did the orange, and we're going to let that dry. Put a little touch of orange up there, give it a little spark, and I got into some of that other color. Okay, so this one appears dry, and I'm not really liking how it turned out. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go in with my apple red, and I'm going to give it some bright color. And since it's so transparent, the shadowing comes through. And then I'm going to give it a little more spark of light over here with the orange. We're going to see how that turns out. And then I'm going to give the divot, put the divot in here for, sometimes when you go in and you add the details, it just makes the whole thing come together. That one's still so wet, so I'm going to just kind of there we go. Probably up here is where the divot would be on that one, but we're going to just go with it. Now I'm showing you as I'm working through this just how relaxed you can be. You don't have to be perfect. When you add the details, like I'm going to bring in the stems right now. And it just all comes together. It just works. So let me get my liner. And I'm going to get some burnt umber or dark brown. Let me see, what have I got here? This is burnt umber. Burnt umber tends to be very thick. I've got to peel off some on the top. I'll put it up here. Now I've done these with thicket, and I did it on my box when I made it. So I got some water on my brush, and I'm just going to run it through here. And I'm going to twist. Okay, you're not in the camera area. All right. Burnt umber. pull, twist, pull, twist, pull, twist. So I get a nice sharp edge, and I want the paint inky. That means it flows well off. I need to add a little bit more water. Remember I said burnt umber can be very thick. So we're going to paint the stems, and I'm not following it well. That's why I don't like drawing the lines first. I like to just pull the stems from the cherries once they're painted. Now this one, the divot's not showing real well, so I'm going to go ahead with the burnt umber and put that divot in. And there you have your cherries with terrible stems. But you see the difference in them. No two cherries are alike. And you can work through the colors. This one has the shadow here along the bottom, highlight over there. These have the little seam that a cherry can have. And this one, it kind of got obscured. I could leave it the way it is, or I can go in and brighten the center and restate that seam. And I'm going to work from the divot and restate that seam. And there you have it. That's how I paint cherries. Not perfection, just fast and easy. This one's pretty much almost dry. I'm going to go ahead and put a little engine red on it. And you see how very transparent both of those colors are. So now I'm going to go into, this is the dark cherry or black cherry on one side. I'm going to pull in the shading. My brush seems to be really wet. Pull in the shading. And because I had so much paint on my brush, you can see the ridge there. I don't sweat that kind of stuff, but I know a lot of people do. So all you do is just make sure you don't have too much paint in your brush. So let's go ahead. I'm going to do the divot. Basically, it's just a little almost comma stroke, just with the corner of my brush. Just a little almost smiley face. And then I'm getting the apple red with the black cherry or the berry wine, whichever one you wish to use, and I'm putting in that little seam. And then that's where the stem would be. And you notice I goof it up all the time. I'm just playing now, so it's something I do with my paintings. Okay, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this quick and easy cherry painting lesson. You know, that one, I think it needs a little divot too. So, there you go. One thing more, adding a bright highlight, just a tap of something of white or a light color to bring in just a spark. Now, I do that with wicker white, not titanium white. I don't know why I said titanium. I don't hardly ever use titanium. So I have my liner, and I'm getting a touch of white in it. I'm kind of thinning it out. I don't want it too stark. And that's because there's a little bit of water in my brush. And I'm just going to lay this down, drag. Lay this down, drag. Lay this down, drag. Just a touch. Nothing too garish. I'm going to do the same on here. Touch, pull. Touch, pull. Touch, pull. You see how that one's kind of real light? That's the effect I'm going for. So there are your little sparks of light on your cherry. You might be surprised at how at first you think, no, that doesn't work. You walk away, come back, and you think, oh, I really like that little spark of light. So there you have it, your how to paint cherries in acrylic paints. Quick and easy, either one stroke or, I don't know what you call the other method, just painting in acrylics. Enjoy. I will see you in the next painting tutorial.